Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and today I'm here to talk about a somewhat controversial subject or topic for a lot of you, and that's the matched grip versus the traditional grip. So I've been doing this for a while now. I've had this channel maybe for about 12 or 13 years. I'll have to look back, but I've learned a lot of things from the correspondence I've had with hundreds, maybe thousands of drummers and other musicians out there who watch the channel. And one of the most common topics is the traditional grip. So people will tune in and see me playing and then leave a message saying, you know, why are you using that stupid old grip? It makes no sense. It's terrible. Which is common. Pretty much maybe once a week I'll get one of those. And that's fine, you know. I have a hard shell here. But I do want to talk about this today because I think it's very important for young players who may be not being told the benefits of learning both grips. So there's teachers out there who just teach traditional. There's teachers out there who just teach matched. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to be a great drummer, a modern drummer, you need to learn how to play both ways because both ways have advantages. Now, when I was growing up, almost all of the drummers learned traditional grip first. Back then, that was considered the grip because we were I was coming up in the late 60s, 70s, into the 80s when I started playing professionally. And all the drummers back then who were well known started with Gene Krupa. He was sort of a Hollywood drummer. He, was on TV, movies a lot, and he was, people were exposed to that. And then came Buddy Rich, the amazing Buddy Rich, on the Tonight Show many times, friends with Johnny Carson. People saw him playing too. And both those guys played traditional grip exclusively. Rarely did they ever play match grip. Then there were other guys like my teacher, Joe Morello, who played both grips. He played traditional, but it wasn't uncommon for him during his solos and other times just to switch to matched. And that was, I accepted that. Being a young person studying with them, it was just normal for me to switch back and forth. But I did learn how to play traditional. And also back then, if you marched in a drum and bugle corps or did marching band, as is today, you will be most likely playing traditional. The match grip is used a lot in orchestral snare drumming, as well as playing all the mallet instruments, timpani. Those are a little bit different grips, both those instruments, but you're not going to start playing xylophone like this or timpani, okay? You're going to play like this. So that's another reason that you should teach all your students match grip from the beginning. But the one thing everybody needs to understand is the traditional grip has great advantages over the match grip if you want to do certain things. And this is my belief after playing for well over 50 years now and playing professionally, and that's what I do every night, every day. I play, I teach, and I play both grips all the time. I teach both grips all the time. And it's my honest conclusion that there's a lot of things you can do with traditional grip that you can't do with the match grip. And there's really not much you can't do with the traditional grip. Now, the one thing that will get you with the traditional grip is if you play really hard. So if you're playing backbeats all night like this, eventually you're probably going to dislocate or damage your thumb, like a lot of rock drummers did. I remember going to see the Police back in the 70s many times. I'm a huge Stuart Copeland fan. And he would a lot of times have bandages on his thumb because he would probably have dislocated it from playing so hard. He was a traditional grip player for sure. Great one. All right. Because again, they played very hard, very fast, that group. So that was one thing that I saw that and I said, oh, I should probably play more of my rock stuff, which I did at the time, play traditional, do a lot of match because you can hurt your finger right there. It's susceptible to that, getting arthritis like that in your thumb. That's about it, really. That's the only thing. Now, playing traditional affords you a few things that you can't get with matched. And that happens with the non-dominant hand. So I'm a righty, so my left hand is going to use the traditional grip in the left hand. like this. That's what it's called. So the dominant hand, we use the match grip at all times, and the left hand, we use traditional weak hand. So it takes advantage of the thumb, which is the strongest finger by far on your non-dominant hand. These fingers, not so much, okay? Not very strong. You're not going to do much with your non-dominant hand unless you're completely ambidextrous, which most people are not. All right, so that thumb affords you a way to play accents very strong. Now I can do the same thing matched. But it just doesn't feel as good and it doesn't feel as secure. And I'm playing match grip as long as I've been playing traditional grip. Okay, so that is a huge benefit, is that thumb. The other benefit is that you don't have a lot of fingers on the stick. So that left hand, or my non-dominant hand in this case, is free to move. When you do this, a lot of times these fingers, which aren't strong once again, can get in the way of that, all right, of a free-flowing kind of technique. And that's it with match grip. And again, I can play just as well, probably sounds just as clear to you guys out there, but I am not as comfortable because of the fact that my non-dominant hand is not getting the benefit of using that thumb. On the stick. All right. Now, when I was a kid, I'd go see music all the time. That's the benefit of growing up in New York. I could see all these great drummers play all the time. All right. And they'd play at Jazzmobile and sometimes out in the street at clubs. They do matinees at the Village Vanguard, all kinds of things that a kid could go to. And all of those drummers, all of them that I saw, everyone, Philly Joe Jones, Joe Jones, Elvin Jones, all the Joneses, right? All those guys played traditional grip. Sometimes they would, Art Blakey sometimes would turn around and play some match grip, but most all of them played that traditional grip, all right? So seeing that too growing up influenced me as far as the look of it, the feel of it, especially playing jazz, all right? Now, another benefit of playing the traditional grip is playing brushes. A lot of those things are difficult to do with the match grip because you're having to move your whole arm, and it's more difficult to move the wrist like this, especially on your non-dominant hand. But with traditional, you can do all kinds of sweeps. Which is very, very hard to do like this. Ergonomically, it doesn't really work. It just feels really funny. And I've tried, because I have lots of students who play a lot of match grip. And, sometimes they ask me, hey, do I have to learn how to play traditional to play brushes well? And I'm always struggling with that, because I don't want, I don't want them to feel like, that's not legitimate playing match grip. So I'll say, well, let's try it and see how you do. And every single one of them, I've never had one who say, basically, after a couple weeks of playing brushes, it's like, I gotta learn how to play traditional. And it's very beneficial because of the movement of that non-dominant hand like that. So. that's my observations, and these are completely honest observations because, like I said, I'm not biased either way. I'm just telling you what I've learned from playing all these years. So my advice is to teach your students, and if you're a student, my advice to you is to learn both grips and practice both grips. They're going to benefit each other, but the non-dominant hand is definitely afforded a benefit by getting most of the fingers off of the stick and using the thumb and these first two fingers when needed, and the bottom two as a wall, like that. A lot more mechanics involved in this grip, all right? And I have several videos, a lot of them, on the traditional and the match grip. If you just do a search on the channel, you'll see it. And with the match grip, the thing is you want to use your fingers like this. And you want to do that without, I always talk about this, being relaxed, without using your shoulder, without tightening up or doing that, just fingers. And that's my left hand. So I have lots of finger strength there with both grips. But again, you're missing something if you've never played traditional grip. The other thing I'll say that's going to be controversial, I know I'm going to get tons of emails and comments, but if you're going to play a lot of rudimental drumming, especially really difficult stuff, you're going to want to do it traditional. There's a few things involved in that. Number one, it's the tradition. Number two, it looks pretty cool. Number three, you're going to be afforded a lot more control over very, very, very complex things, especially if you're playing on a big drum, like a field drum that has maybe a calf head or a loose head, all right, or a rope drum or something. You're going to have a big benefit over the guy or gal who plays match grip on those. I'm doing a series now on the Les Park book, 15 Diversions for Snare Drum, which is a classic book. And I've played that both ways, matched and traditional. And I've have students play it both ways because I think it's very beneficial to do that. And the guys who play and the gals who play traditional grip well versus the folks who play match grip well, playing that book, it's not even a contest. It's completely a different sound, a different feel. If you watch my videos, you'll see it. Playing with the traditional grip in that way. And again, a lot of you are going to disagree with that and all that. But I would say, for those of you that disagree, I would ask you, do you play traditional grip? Have you ever mastered it? You might play match grip and think you mastered that, but can you play material like that? Can you play at the highest point of virtuosic technique in any grip, matched or traditional? So before you comment and say stuff to people that might sway them, especially a young person, one way or another, you need to be able to back it up by playing, being able to play these things. You can't just say it. You got to do it. You got to show them. So I always show all my students how to play things, match grip and traditional, and we do it both ways if they're capable of it. And that takes them a little bit of a longer time, but eventually that ends up being a much more well-rounded drummer and percussionist, and the ability to play brushes and certain things with that left hand. Now, the only other thing I'll mention, which is kind of strange, but I do need to mention it, is a lot of times other musicians, especially jazz musicians, will notice when you're playing match grip jazz, they'll like almost say, well, that's not a real grip. You don't look like a jazz drummer when you're doing that. Because they're used to seeing all these groups and everything they've ever seen of the great players. All the drummers are playing like this. And when they see this, automatically, biased or not, they think rock drummer like this. So they think this guy or this gal is not a jazz drummer because they're playing like this. Now, even though that's not true, you'll get that. It's almost a form of discrimination of grips, okay? So that's something that I experienced in New York. I would sometimes play some match grip jazz, and I'd have guys, old timers, say to me, "What's wrong with you? Why are you playing like that?" And then I just switch back to traditional, and they'd be like, that's better. Even though it might not have sounded different. Maybe it did. Maybe it sounded not as good. So that's another little topic that you should be aware of. And you know, as time goes by, that might disappear. But once again, keep saying it. Watch all the videos where I do both grips. I'm always using both grips. And the traditional grip is legitimate. It will always be legitimate because there's a lot of things you can do with it that you can't do with match grip. And vice versa, if you're going to play really heavy, really hard, I would definitely suggest learning the match grip so you don't tear up that left hand. So hope you got something out of this, and we'll see you next time.